Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, morning. How you doing? If this is your first time to catch me live, good morning. My name is Ronee Harden. I'm an editor and a copywriter. I help storytellers. I'm also an educator. I used to teach high school English, literature studies, and academic writing. So I love words. I love studying about words, and I love all kinds of things that are going on around us, right? So I'm going to take a moment and say hello to the folks that are going to pop in live. Facebook has changed their API yet again. It's been an interesting week, but we're going with it. And so, good morning to here on Facebook Live and to those folks who are watching on YouTube. Well, guys, it's been an interesting week. I didn't get to see you last weekend because my daughter and her boyfriend came into town to help celebrate my birthday on Monday, on Columbus Day, where people were arguing yet again on social media about the outrage against Indigenous peoples. And of course, me as the Hawaiian watching that laughed. And look, here's Milo. Say hi, Milo. He has to be in every broadcast. Well, good morning, everybody. How was your week? How's everybody doing? I'm going to pop over here and say good morning. Hi, Miss Mary. How are you doing? Good to see you. Hey, Cynthia. How was your week, friend? We need to catch up in our thread. Good morning, Tiffany. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you here. Hi, folks. Good to see everybody. Well, I hope you have a mug of something because we're going to chat for a minute and talk about what's been going on. I'm going to share some new books that have come out since we last talked. And then some other projects that are going to be coming up for the holidays. Guys, we are moving into the calendar. I don't know about you, but as I was working on my content and planning, and then I have to put it over here in my planner and I write it down 50 times and then it changes. But yeah, guys, so do you realize, let's just get a little reality check here. Have your mug in hand, by the way. We have 9 weeks until Christmas and 5 weeks until Thanksgiving. Guys, we are literally almost done with 2020. And what the heck has happened? I think that's the theme. Like, what just happened? That's going to be my title for my 2020 recap on Facebook. So yeah, how was your week? It's been really interesting, hasn't it? Good morning, Sherry. How you doing? Good morning, Mary Jane. How are you? Good to see you. You have a book for me to read. I love when I get book recommendations. I mean, I tell you guys about books all the time, so I love it when you guys share your book recommendations. If you've been reading stuff that you really enjoyed, I mean, good grief, I'm not involved in every single book in the entire world. Just a portion of them. Working with clients, working with folks. So anyway, we love talking about that. So yes, if you have a good book to share with me, please send it. Drop it in a message. Tiffany, message me. All that good stuff. Okay. So interesting week. All the talk for a while was about the passing of Eddie Van Halen, and that one hit pretty close to home for me, guys, because I did have a birthday and I am approaching that age range where all of my the icons, the legends of my generation are transitioning. And so, and Eddie Van Halen, I'd met a couple of times back when I worked in radio, when they would come through the station here and do their promos, drops, recordings, and that kind of thing, and coordinate like meet and greets for the shows. That was tough. He was such a talented guy, such a talented, naturally talented guy. And fame and lifestyle and and the 80s. I could tell you stories about the 80s. Ooh. So I'm gonna pop in here. Let's You are completely ready for Halloween and Thanksgiving and half ready for Christmas. There you go. Jennifer, hi, sweetie. How you doing? All the way up there in Boise. You were just thinking about you, wondering if you'd missed the broadcast. I'm so glad to see you too, my friend. Great to see you. Um, a good long week here. The Vanishing American Adult. I haven't finished it yet, but Zeb did. So far, it's amazing and convicting. Those are my kind of books, Tiffany. Amazing and convicting. I'm going to be sharing here as I go into the holiday season. I'm going to be sharing with you my 2020 bookshelf of what I've been reading and sort of going through in the pandemic. And I've had segments where I've not been able to actually physically sit and read a book. So I've been enjoying some great audiobooks. So yeah. Oh, good. Oh, Jennifer, love you too, sweetie. Thank you for sending me all the hearts. I hope you are doing well. We need to catch up. Um, you were born in 1980. Oh, good Lord, Tiffany, that was my freshman year in college. Just, if we're going to put dates out here, okay? Um, yeah. So a lot has changed and a lot is transitioning. So a great audiobook that in fact, I'd forgotten that I had either pre-ordered it or it was set up as a pre-read. Anyway, it dumped in my Audible, and I was so glad to get it. So, guys, I really want to encourage you if you um, are of my age range or no, you've got to get Lenny Kravitz's new book, Let Love Rule. And may I recommend that you get the audiobook version, because what's interesting about books on audio is that the producers are able to do things differently that we don't get in an actual sitting reading. Now, listen, guys, good grief, behind me are two full bookshelves. And then I have a bookshelf in one of the guest rooms, and then Michael's got a bookshelf. We have books everywhere. I love books. But it's amazing, just the extra things that we get to do with audiobooks. So Lenny Kravitz is reading it, and there are also musical tidbits that go through his story that are much richer when we connect the music to what was going on in his life. What a fabulous upbringing! What a lucky young man! And he shares both the Jewish side and the Bahamian side of his family. So, he was living in a mixed race family, and what that was like, what Hollywood was like at the time when the show The Jeffersons was on, as his mom was on that show. And then it just shows his evolving from childhood all the way up into the artist that he became. So you need to check it out. It's a really great read. It's only 6 hours long on Audible, so you could knock this out in a couple of days. Great story. And if you're a fan of his music, I highly recommend it. And especially you get to hear his voice. So that's always pretty cool. So another great book as we're coming into the holiday season, guys. Have you been eating a lot over the pandemic? Have you been eating at home more? Have you been making food? Have you been wishing you could learn how to make food better because you're at home more? Um, and so I've always followed a couple of people. I'm sure you have followed certain people and their cookbooks, but I am excited about this one. I love simple cooking and I love Ina Garten. She makes cooking so easy. Her recipes are so easy to break down. So her new one came out on the 6th. So both of these books came out October. Yeah, they came out October 6th. Yeah, it was a Tuesday. And so these are some great recipes. There's about 85 recipes in there. There's like a chicken pot pie soup recipe that I want to try. There's a cheesy chicken enchiladas recipe I'm definitely going to try. So I can't wait. I can't wait to open this one and get started in some of her recipes. I'll be sharing, if I try any of her recipes, I'll definitely be letting you know. But check out her new book. It is out now. So let's see. You had Mary, you had 2 children by 1980. You were deep into Saturday morning cartoons. Yes. Oh, I miss those days. And Teresa, good morning, my dear. Tad late moving this morning. You're interested in the Lenny Kravitz book. Yeah, listen, Teresa, the audio is fantastic. If you're going to get it and you want to be able to get the story, I mean, you could listen to this in the car. You could listen on it on a break at work. um, leisure time. So definitely, yes, absolutely. Tiffany, let's see. You found the love of audiobooks and listen to them when you sew or do dishes. Our Switch Lullaby was one of those. So much better, let's see, as an audio book versus reading the physical book. Yes. I mean, there are some books that this format is perfect for. I used to use this format a lot with my students who were dyslexic and had difficulty sitting and reading visual text for a long period of time. So I allowed them to get the audiobook versions of the literature. And sometimes those stories were richer and enabled students to really open up their mind and have a greater imagination of the story, listening to it in audio form. So, guys, check it out. Ina Garten's new cookbook. Get that in an actual book because I think that's more. I don't know if you could do recipes in audio, but you probably could. But Ina Garten's new cookbook, pick up a copy of hers, and then definitely get a copy of Lenny Kravitz. That is my book recommendation for this week, and I loved his story. He's 2 years younger than me. So it was great to hear things of my past, my growing up time, and connect that with his music. I've always been a fan of his music, but now listening to his story behind who he was as a child growing up, who he is now, and the struggles in between that made him into the artist he is. So, great stories. Love great stories. And I have got a story for you today. You're going to actually get to hear me chat with someone who we kind of share a similar story. But ours were different, of course, in a lot of ways. So you guys have been following my story all this time, and let's do a hair checkup, shall we? Guys, I was worried, and yet it's just whoo. Okay, so this week, if you haven't been checking out my Instagram stories, I went to get my hair cut because you remember it was like turning into a poofy brown mushroom cap. And when I went to see my hairstylist, I asked him, I said, "So how am I doing, Noel? We're kind of charting my progress as we go." And he said, "Well, definitely not long enough to override the curl." And I said, "Okay, just do your best." He said, "You're just going to have to let it grow out some more." But he said, by December, I should have, hair. But guys, I mean, I have it. It's just growing out in all kinds of directions. But I have it over my ears, and I'm kind of glad for that because the temperatures have gotten cooler here in Dallas. So we're getting these crisp little breezes in the morning that I love, and it'll be sweater weather, right? So I'm excited. So this is the progress. I am 9 months out from chemo. I am 5 months out from radiation, and I am super excited to be 5 days past my birthday and another trip around the sun, and I'm so grateful for it. So, things that I'm grateful about. I'm grateful for all the folks who contributed to my Komen walk. So next Saturday, guys, you're going to want to tune in because I am going to be broadcasting live from our route on the Komen walk. Michael and I are going to be mapping a route, and we're going to be walking from here all the way down through what is called the Bishop Arts District, and end up at one of our favorite new little finds. As a restaurant to have brunch after we finish the walk. So I'm super excited about this, guys. And it means so much to me because I know the importance of having resources and support when you're going through breast cancer. And so the story that you're about to hear between myself and another friend, and if you have questions, please drop them in because I would love to hear your input and your comment. But I am super excited to introduce to you a friend of mine. And this is our first time to actually meet and talk in person, through of course a medium platform, but nonetheless the first time that we've actually physically spoken to each other, because this lady and I have connected through our local Dallas Fort Worth breast cancer support group. And I met this lady, and we discovered that we had the same kind of cancer diagnosis. She was in Fort Worth, I was here in Dallas. And so we started a relationship communicating, and I would ask questions. She was a little bit further ahead of me as far as treatment paths. So she was already weeks into her chemo, super, super supportive to me. And I can't wait for you to meet her and hear her incredible story. So folks, I'm going to introduce to you my friend, April. and she'll be coming on screen here in a second. There she is. There she is. Hi, April.
Hi, good morning.
So, super excited to let my friends get to meet you and hear our story together. So April owns a linen rental company here. So she's running a business, super successful business. And we'll talk about how you were affected, during the year of coronavirus. But I want you to share a little bit because April's story is really incredible. So, April, why don't you share with my viewers here your story of how you discovered you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
Okay. So it was like January of last year, and my husband and I were trying to get pregnant, and we already had I guess he was 5 or 6 years old at the time. And we wanted just one more kid. And it was Martin Luther King weekend, and I had an itch in my breast, and I reached in and I felt a lump. But it was Friday after hours. And so I called my doctor right away, and they not only were they closed, but the phone, it wasn't answering. It wasn't going to a voicemail. It wasn't going to an answering service or anything, which was really weird. So I was like, okay, I'll just go up to the office because I knew that they had Saturday hours. I was like, I'll just go there tomorrow and see if they can at least get me on the schedule if they can't see me tomorrow. So I went up there, and not only were they closed on Saturday, but because it was Martin Luther King weekend, they were closed on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So I called a local mammography place and said that I found a lump and I want to see if I can get seen. My doctor's office is closed. They said, oh, well, if you hadn't found a lump, so this is good to know. If you hadn't found a lump, you could come in today. But because you found a lump, that's a different kind of mammogram. And it's called there's preventative and then there's diagnostic.
Right.
So
Right.
we can do preventative without a doctor's referral, but if it's a diagnostic, you have to have a doctor's referral. So if you ever find a lump and you want to get seen right away, just lie. Just say, hey, I just right now.
Right. Right.
So I called on Tuesday, got an appointment for Wednesday, got my mammogram scheduled for Thursday. When I went in on Wednesday, they said, "Oh, it feels like a cyst. It's round, it's smooth on the edges. Cancer is not smooth on the edge, and you're trying to get pregnant. I'm going to guess that you probably are pregnant. You just don't know it yet. But we'll go ahead and schedule you just for peace of mind." And so they scheduled me that next morning. And so I go in that morning, and there's a sign on the door that says, "If you're pregnant, let us know before we do your mammogram." So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I'm pregnant. I'm trying to get pregnant. So they said, okay, just in case, we'll do an ultrasound instead of a mammogram. And so they did the ultrasound and they saw it and they're like, it's round. It looks like a cyst. You're probably pregnant. She's like, but we're going to go ahead and schedule you for a biopsy just to be safe, just because we can. Right. And we'll deal with it then. And so that was Thursday. And then I think it was Monday that I found out I was pregnant. So it wasn't actually 2 days. I've been saying 2 days this whole time, but I think it's actually 3 days. So Monday, I found out I was pregnant. I know, plus one, minus one at this point.
Right.
So on Monday, I found out I was pregnant. Tuesday, I had my biopsy. And when I went in there, I was like, oh, I'm so excited to tell them they were right. And so I told them, and they were so proud of themselves. They're like, yes, we called it. We knew you were pregnant. So we'll still do the biopsy just because you're here anyways. But after they did the biopsy, they're like, okay, here's the paperwork. Here's what to do. They actually even put like a little marker in the cyst to say, hey, this is the one that we've already checked and was good.
Right.
Just in case you want to get it removed later, if it still bothers you, they know exactly which one to get.
Right. Right.
And so I was like, okay, no big deal. Went on with my day. And then Thursday, so 2 days after my biopsy, I get a phone call, and it was from Bedford. And I don't have any call, like nobody like from Bedford calls. And I was like, oh no, I know my doctor's in Bedford. This can't be good. So I answer the phone, and she says, may I speak with April? I said, this is her. She says, do you have a moment? I was like, oh no. So I got up and I shut my office door at work, and she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but we thought we've never seen this. And they said, it looked like a cyst, but you have breast cancer. And not only that, you have the worst kind. You have triple negative breast cancer. You need to get this removed immediately. And so I packed up my purse. I told my employees, I was like, I got to go. Just text me if you need me. Don't call me. I don't have any answers for you right now. Like, I'm not saying anything. And so that was Thursday. And so I called my insurance company on the way home to tell them what happened and to see where do I start. Because on the phone, they told me you need to get a breast surgeon and you need to get this removed. And so I called my insurance company. They actually assigned me a dedicated person to take care of everything for me, like to make phone calls and to stay on top of insurance claims and all that kind of stuff, which is really, really helpful. Um, but so that was Thursday. Friday, we met the breast surgeon. Monday, we met the oncologist. Tuesday, we got to get in and see the OB. You're not supposed to get to see the OB until 8 weeks pregnant, but I was 5.5 weeks pregnant. But they wanted to make sure I was pregnant. They wanted to know exactly how far along I was and all that stuff. So Friday the breast surgeon, Monday the oncologist, Tuesday we got to see the baby, got to see the heartbeat. And you're not even supposed to see the heartbeat that early. We're a few days before you can normally see the heartbeat, but we got to see the
Right.
heartbeat. So that was pretty promising. Wednesday I had a pre-op where they do this lymph node insertion thing to see exactly what lymph nodes it drains into, so they know what lymph nodes to check to see if the cancer is spread. Because I was pregnant, they couldn't do the normal scans
Right.
to see
The nude scans. Ugh.
so they had to go based on the lymph nodes. And so Wednesday I had that pre-op and got all checked in. And Thursday morning on Valentine's Day, I had a mastectomy. So, and my surgeon, my aunt, my uncle, my husband, and my mom were there. And my surgeon came out in the middle of surgery to announce that it hadn't spread to the lymph nodes. So it was just the one lump, and it was gone. And basically, here's the crazy thing. It
Here's the
it
crazy thing.
it looked like a cyst because it was a cyst that grew over my cancer spot. And it was a pregnancy cyst that had somehow, I don't know if it had just randomly popped up or if that was like my body trying to protect itself from.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
basically, this baby saved my life when he was like 2 days pregnant, basically, because
Yeah.
that had never been there. Because when I took the next shower I took after I felt the lump, I washed myself the same way I always wash myself, and I felt it, and I was like, "This must have just popped up." And so that's why the whole pregnancy narrative, like it's just a pregnancy cyst, was
Right.
totally working in my
Right.
head. So, anyways,
Right.
you can't do chemo until you're in your second trimester. A lot of people are shocked that you can do chemo at all when you're
Well,
pregnant.
okay, so I'm gonna yeah. So here's guys. Here's how April and I. So this was my. Meanwhile, she's going through all of this, right? So April, I was diagnosed on a holiday too. It was July 4th weekend. And
Oh
I
no.
actually found out. So it was Friday yoga class, June 27th. Like, these dates are, branded into our brains now. So it was a Friday, June 27th. I was in yoga class. I was doing the boat pose, right? And I go to lift up, and it felt like I'd laid on a rock. And I
Oh,
was like, okay, wait a minute. That was just, then I looked to actually see if there was something on my mat, it was like, what the heck was that? And, so after class, I went in the ladies' locker room. I was, feeling around everything. Sure enough, I felt something. Now, I had my father and my grandmother, my father's mother, both have breast cancer. My grandmother passed of it. I had been watching myself at my age because when I went through menopause, they put me on the bioidentical patch,
mhm.
right? The hormone therapy to kind of help even me out because I was having other physical symptoms when menopause kicked in and my levels started to go crazy. So I'd been on this patch for 10 years. And of course, always one of those things is, the risk for getting breast cancer, minimal, but they give you that disclaimer. And I'd been getting checked every 6 months just because I was on this. They wanted to watch me. So I developed these calcifications that never really turned into anything. They were never really anything till June 27th. So I discovered it. And so we're going into the July 4th weekend. We also had friends that were planning to come in town for a concert, to go see a concert with us. They were all coming in town. So um, I call, and I just established primary care with a doctor here in Dallas, because I got remarried, moved back here. I'm just getting everything back set up. I'm in my new life. I remarried. Yay. Boom. Um, so yeah, my doctor was able to, I called my doctor and I told her, and she said, you check with your insurance, find an imaging place that's close by you or one you think is good and go. And she said, make the appointment and then I'll fax the orders over. And so that's what I did. And July 2nd, Dr. Gail Bentley up in Plano, it started with a mammogram. It then went to a sonogram. It went to she wasn't really sure and wanted to biopsy right there. So I was in the imaging center for 3.5 hours that day and walked out with with biopsies and markers put in. And she was the one that said, "Oh yes, this is breast cancer." She said, "But what you were feeling were the calcifications. What you couldn't see were this cancer spots behind it." So like
Oh,
you, my body was doing what it could to protect it. And so my cancer didn't spread. I was only in one lymph node. Um, and then like you, started the barrage of appointments and tests and biopsy and imaging. And I had to do the genetic test because when they heard about my family history, then we had to, do all of that. So, I met you through our group posting because we had similar diagnoses of staging with our breast cancer. But here was the thing, guys. So, you guys remember because I live broadcast when my hair was super long, April. Like, I don't know if I ever showed you, but my hair used to be like almost down to my waist.
I've
Uh,
seen pictures.
and so for me, it was almost harder than doing chemo of me losing all of my hair because that had been, that was, and especially to Hawaiian people, I mean, our hair, it's just all of that vein stuff. But anyway, my hair went from being long to a short bob to falling out. And you and I had been having discussions about things, and you were telling me what's going on. And then you were going to send me a picture of your hair growing back. And guys, she sent me this picture, and she is, what were you, 7 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant? Like she's from the side, taking pictures of her hair to send to me. Well, I'm whining about losing my hair. I saw your picture, April, and I got to tell you, this is where you were so supportive because you turned my grief of being diagnosed and the fear of what we go through of all of this happening so quickly. And you were like, here's my hair. And I'm seeing you pregnant. And my first thought is, oh my gosh, wait, how are you? So talk to me about doing chemo while pregnant, because I know when I was doing chemo, what I felt like. So talk to us a little bit about that. I didn't even know they could do that.
So you can't do chemo until you're in your second trimester. So I was scheduled to start chemo at 14 and a half weeks pregnant. The reason for that is they say that the placenta filters the chemo, but your placenta is not developed until the second trimester, so 13 and a half, 14 weeks. But
Okay.
they wouldn't do an ultrasound. I really wanted an ultrasound to confirm that they could see the placenta. Like maybe it took a little bit longer to post or whatever, I don't know, or
Right.
to develop, but they wouldn't do it. So I was like, okay, I just have to trust that we're 14 and a half weeks. So just have to go ahead and get it started. So 14 and a half weeks, I started 4 rounds of adriamycin cytoxin, which is, they call it the red devil, which is very,
Yes.
very aggressive. You have to eat ice the whole time while you're taking the first part for it's about 20 minutes straight. You're just shoveling ice. I would show up at the chemo center with a 4-pack carrier of Sonic, and so I had one 32-ounce ice water, and the rest were just ice. And
Ice. Yep.
my goal was always to take in all of that by the time I left the chemo center, because you want to flush it out too. Not only are you supposed to eat it, but you're supposed to flush it. So AC was pretty bad. The worst part of it was heartburn, but I also have had heartburn my whole life as well. So, but it just made it really, really bad. But there was one time where I felt like really tired, and my OB said, you probably need fluids just because the chemo is dehydrating. And she said, if your oncologist will give you fluids, to go up there and see if they'll just put you on the floor and get you some fluids for a little bit.
Right.
So I go up there, and they're they're like, we don't think you need fluids, but let's run blood tests before we give you fluids. We'll give you fluids; they won't hurt, but let's run blood tests first. And so I'm getting my fluids, and the nurse comes up and she's like, April, you don't need fluids. She said, you need blood. She said, your numbers are almost zero, like
Oh
in
my
every sense of the word. Like you're supposed to be from like 4 to 7, and I was like 0.02 on all of
God.
these numbers. Yeah, and it was to the point where I couldn't walk. Like my mom had a coupon for me for Garden Ridge. It was like 20% off, and I was like, I can't. I can't even walk around Garden Ridge. It's not going to happen. So I was so upset to not go get to use my Garden
Your
Ridge coupon.
coupon.
Um, but I couldn't walk. I had to valet at the hospital because my legs just couldn't move when I went for the blood so she's like, you need to go to get a blood transfusion. I was like, okay. So I went for the blood transfusion, and my heart rate, something I didn't know, my heart rate had been 99 plus all the time. And basically that was my heart trying to get blood when it trying to pump when I didn't have blood. And so
Right.
while I'm sitting there getting the transfusion, I'm just watching on my watch the my heart rate coming down. I could hear my heartbeat in my ear, because it was trying so hard to pump blood. And that all went away like mid blood transfusion. And when I walked to my car, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can walk. This is weird.
Right.
So I had to have 2 blood transfusions during AC. The Taxol part, um, you actually your hair can start growing back during Taxol. So 4 AC over 8 weeks, and then 12
12
Taxol. So a total of
yeah.
20 weeks. At about 33 weeks, I was taking my son to summer camp, and I was like, I think I'm having contractions. I never had contractions with my first son. I just straight went into labor at 33 weeks with my older son. And so he was 7 weeks early as well. So I was like, am I having contractions? And I had an OB appointment that day anyways. So I was like, okay, let me get him to camp, get
Right.
up to the doctor. And when I walked in, I said, I think I'm having contractions. So can I be like seen earlier
Right.
rather
Right.
than waiting? And they're like, okay. So she texts me and she's like, yeah, you're having contractions. You're in labor. You need to go to the hospital right now. And I was like, whoa, what? No, it was only I was 31 weeks pregnant when that happened. And I still had like 5 more chemos left. And I was like, no, I can't do this right now. So she sent me to the hospital, and they checked, and my water hadn't broke. So they gave me some shots and tried to stall the labor. Well, that happened 3 or 4 more times I went into labor. And so the last time I went into labor,
I
um,
remember all of a sudden there you were with the baby. I was like,
well,
wow.
I had one more episode right before that. And each time, okay, so they're like, I was 34 and a half weeks pregnant when I went
Right.
into labor. That was okay. So my last chemo, when I got there, I said, I think I'm going to have this baby today. So normally when you get there, you do your blood work, then you go see the doctor,
Right.
and then you wait for a chair. And my chemo place is really busy. You would wait for a chair for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours. Like I had Uber Eats delivered quite a few times.
We did
I
food
was
there.
waiting
Yeah, we did food at
on
the
a chair.
hospital too.
Yeah. And so I told them when I got there, I said, I hate to ask for special privileges, but I'm having contractions already, and I've already gone into labor 3 or 4 times. This is my last chemo. Can I be rushed along? Can I not have to wait? And they're like, yes. Okay. So they got me rushed in. And I was having contractions while I was getting chemo. And I was like, okay, please unhook me. Let's go. So I went into
'Cause
labor again.
I remember you had just finished, and it was either like within 24 hours or I guess
2 days.
faster.
No,
Wow.
that one time. So I was 34
Okay.
and a half weeks. So this was, I think, the 4th time that I went into labor. And she said,
Okay.
okay, we want to get you to 35 weeks. They put me on blood pressure medicine, which actually slows down I don't know what it does. It slows contractions. So they put me on blood pressure medicine for like 3 or 4 days. She said, we want to get you to 35 weeks because 35 weeks anything below that is automatic NICU. And so we want to avoid that if we can.
Right,
So
right.
the morning of 34 weeks and 6 days, um, I have a power. My couch has the recliners that have the buttons to push them
Yes.
instead of like the
Yes.
lever. And so
Those were fantastic.
I had pushed the button to put my legs down because I heard my mom coming in to take my son to school, because she had texted me the night before. She said, I'm going to take Austin to school so you can rest. And I was like, okay, great. Well, so this is kind of funny. Uh, she had texted me that she was leaving her house. She said, hey, I'm leaving my house. Go ahead and get Austin up, get him going to the bathroom. So that way he's kind of halfway ready when I get there. And I saw
Right.
the text and I was like, nope, I don't feel like getting up. So I'm just going to pretend like I didn't see this text message. But then I heard her. close the door when she got here, and I heard her open the gate and start to come in the back door, and I was like, "Oh, better get up." And so I pushed the button to start like raising the seat up and putting the legs down, and right as she was walking in the door, I was getting up and I felt boop, and I'm like, "Oh no." And so my mom walks in the door, racing to the bathroom. My water had broken. So
Good
she got
morning.
Yes, and so she got my son ready for school real quick, and I was like, "Okay, rush me to the hospital, take Austin to school," and then she came back to to be with me, and so, yeah, and then I had a baby a few hours later, so 2 days after finishing chemo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think everybody here on the feed, yes, we're all gonna salute you, April, for man, talk about finishing races.
So
Well, I
it
mean,
was it was a wild
yeah.
ride. So 2020 is nothing compared to 2019.
Right, right, right. That's kinda how I felt. It was like, when I was coming out of, because January, I finished my chemo January 17th, so that was my last treatment day, and here I was like, "All right, man, coming into 2020, I'm done," I mean, I just have to do radiation, but I'm done with this part, and I kinda felt like, yeah, so when the pandemic happened and everybody had to go to lockdown, people were complaining, I was like, "I just went through 6 months of this," you know? I've
Well, and
been
that
on my couch, not able to do anything for 3 or 4 days, you know?
I know, and I kinda wish the timing had been different, so it would have been like, I'm stuck on my couch anyways, like, at last year, but it was kind of funny because my reconstruction surgeon asked, he's like, "Okay, it's time to go ahead and get your surgery scheduled. What works best for your timeline?" And I said, "We get really busy at work after Valentine's Day. So as long as after Valentine's Day, I can be back to work." I said, "I don't have to be able to lift stuff, but if I can at least be able to be there, stand up, have energy." And he's like, "Okay, so we'll do your surgery first week of January." So it was like last week of February, first week of March that I was really feeling good. And I was like, "Okay, this is great. I feel good. I'm ready to go." But I also pay a lot of attention to stock market news and stuff. So I knew that COVID was kind of happening, but I never expected it to happen the way it did. And so I was like, "Yes, I feel like I'm ready to go back to work." And then like Dallas
Boom.
down, and I couldn't
Right.
even choose to be open if I wanted to. Um, because we serve events, and when events are banned, like even if I wanted to be open, none of our customers would even be ordering anything. So we did sell masks
Oh, I
for
love mine, by
during
the
that
way.
time. Oh,
Oh, are you kidding? I mean, Tiffany on the broadcast, she made me some in Hawaiian print. I love all my fabric masks. They're
awesome.
wonderful because you can breathe. I mean, you can breathe. I love them. Yes. And so that's what, I mean, that's how she pivoted. Now, mind you guys, she's coming out of chemo. and, and, the you were also from October of last year, the tornadoes that came through Dallas came
Yes.
very close to one of your warehouses, didn't it? Or
Yeah.
did you have damage there? No, you were okay.
Okay. So I have a warehouse, and I don't know who listens to this. It's in Dallas, but my warehouse is on Harry Hines and Walnut Hill. Um, it literally, when you drive around, it was one street this way, like one street every direction. My street was spared all the way up to two warehouses away from me on both sides of the street got roof damage. But all four directions from me, it's like my one street was spared. It's crazy.
Yeah. I remember following your posts. I because and so where her warehouses are about, oh, I don't know, maybe a 10-minute drive from our other house where we live, because our house was off. It's on the Lemon Avenue side of the tollway between Beverly and Bordeaux.
Mhm.
So that's where our other house is. And so so we were close and watched the thing bounce, but it spared us. But I mean, we could see all the explosions and things that was going on as it was passing. So you got over the tornado, you dealt with cancer, then you came out of cancer, and then the pandemic. So your company, I mean, you service a lot of weddings, you do a lot of events, because we had an event, our Pachanga event that we were hosting for the Aberg Center for Literacy, and you and I had talked about, possibly because doing events at Seven for Parties, which was the venue where
Mhm.
we were going to have our event. So talk a little bit about how you came up with that idea, because a lot of people were making masks. but how you did that and how that was able to sustain your company during this time.
Okay, so when all of this started to happen, I told my employees because I've never cut hours ever. Like it's never like, hey, it's Tuesday, it's 2 o'clock. I need two people to go home. I've worked at plenty of places that do that, and I don't think that's fair. And so I've never cut hours. We'll say, does anybody want to go home? But we'll never force anybody to
Right.
go home.
And how many people do you employ?
I think about 17. We have some temps, and so somewhere
Okay.
between 16 and 20, it goes up and down all the time.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but everyone's full time. Everyone has kids. Everyone has bills, and so I'm not one to cut hours with no
Right.
notice.
Right.
And so I told them, and this is before it really hit, but I knew that things might start slowing down because the state of Washington was the first to do bans of events over 500 people. And so when that started happening, I had a meeting with my employees and I said, hey, everyone, this is coming. I don't know how it's going to hit. We might slow down a little bit. Some bigger companies might be canceling things. They're canceling some flights, but I don't know how this is going to hit, but I need everyone to be flexible. If you normally work in the office and you need to go scrub toilets or you need to go work in the laundry or we're going to sort through
Right.
things, do
Right.
trash, whatever you can do, like I need everyone to be flexible because you're not going to be doing your regular job. And so everyone was like, yeah, we understand. This is great. And most of my team has been with me for a long time. And so then it hit that first it was like in Dallas, like nothing over 250 and then nothing over 100 and then nothing over 50, then nothing over 10 and then nothing at all within the course of like 2 weeks. And so orders are getting canceled left and right. And then it was like, okay, now if you're not an essential worker, you're not going to work. And I was like, okay, we're we're shut down. And so I had been saving up to buy a new machine because we were getting so busy that so I did have a good savings. And I told my employees, I said, I'm going to pay you. So don't worry about it. Some of you might have little tasks to do, like um, the office employees. I had them, like some of them work on, like we're going to rotate. Like, so for 1 week, one office person is going to take all the phone calls. And there was only like 10 calls a week.
Right.
So one person gets the phone calls and emails for this week. And then the next week you don't do anything.
Right.
Or I had to have one of my drivers come in and deliver masks for a couple of days. But other than that, they didn't work for 6 weeks. But my seamstresses, they did work a lot because we were making masks.
Yes, you were making fabulous masks.
Thank you. But how it happened is people were asking me because a lot of people on the news were talking about clothing companies and all these other companies making masks. And so people started asking me, are you guys making masks? And I was like, no, but I was researching it not on this side of things. I was looking at buying actually instead of the new iron that I had been saving up for, I was looking at buying a machine that makes surgical masks. And it's crazy. The way that they're made, you buy these rolls of like ribbon type fabric and just watching them all come together and it puts the pleats and it puts the metal strip and it puts the elastic on. And I was like, that's
Wow.
so cool. But it was going to take like 3 months to get that machine. And then the fabric was really hard to get. And, warehouses everywhere were shut down. And I was like, I don't know if by the time I get that machine, if we're still going to be in such an, if we're still going to need them or if other places might have already ramped up. So it's like, I don't think that's the best thing to do. So people kept asking if we were making masks. And I was like, you know what? We'll figure it out. So I texted my seamstresses. I was like, "Do you guys know how to do this?" And they're like, "Yeah, we've actually already been making a few, like for friends and stuff." So I said, "Great, we're gonna make masks." So
I
I
mean,
went to Walmart and got whatever fabric, and fabric was so hard to find because people were making masks.
right.
But
Right.
I think we were among the early people to start making masks in mass that were available to the public because most places were only offering them to healthcare workers because at that time, even the hospitals were asking for cloth masks.
Right. Right. Because they were
They
out.
couldn't get enough. And so I was like, we're just going to offer them to everybody. I don't care who buys them. And so we sold a lot of masks. I remember there were days where the the orders were coming in faster than my printer could print the orders. And it was like, this is wild. But I put on my website that we ship same day. And I was like, I never could have imagined that we would have more orders than we could actually make. So we ended up with like a supply chain of people making cloth masks. And I would post them on Facebook and I would get these hateful messages. So at the beginning, I would post them and I would get messages like, "Oh, so you're the one that bought up all the elastic in the United States." And I was like, "No, I went to Etsy and found elastic and
Right.
didn't do anything that nobody else could do." So first I was getting those kind of hate messages. And then as it got more political, I would post ads that were selling masks and it would be like, all of these hateful memes of like politicians and handcuffs and all kinds of really weird things. So it was kind of crazy just to go from a business. So in linens, like what you need and you need it like 6 weeks from now and we have time. And I've never the linen business is my first business that I've ever owned. And so
Right.
I've never had a business that was so urgent. Like everybody in the country needs what I have and they need it right now because you can't even go to the grocery store without what I have and nobody else is selling them. We sold almost every day that we were shipping masks. I would take pictures, I would lay them out, and we were selling masks to Washington, New York, Florida, California. I even shipped, we had one order for like Germany or something. I was like, how did this person in Germany find my mask? That she only ordered one mask and we shipped it to Germany. Like it was like $27 for shipping. Um, but yeah, and that kind of slowed down as masks became more mass market. Like Target had them at the checkout and Walmart had them
Right.
and Old Navy
Right.
had
Now
them.
you're seeing ads. Now you're seeing commercials on TV with people in masks, and it's
Yeah,
everywhere.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they're more mainstream, and once they got more mainstream, I can't compete with like 10 for $10 at Old Navy.
Oh,
So
right. Right.
so
Right.
and
Yeah, but
then
they're
the
not the quality of yours, may I just say.
well, thank you.
There's a big
But people
difference.
don't know that's something you don't know until it's too late. So, you can't like try them on or anything. So, but then also the event side started picking back up to a point where we didn't really have time to stay on the masks. And so we stopped selling them. So,
But you know what I loved about that is how well you pivoted in the middle of it all, and you were just going with your heart, and how you were able to keep your employees sustained. You were able to sustain your employees, and
thank you.
that's a huge blessing, April. I mean, there's a lot of fear surrounding a lot of small businesses right now, and we've seen so many of them, even restaurants and businesses here in Dallas that have been around for years, back from when
Yeah,
I first lived here in Dallas, moved away for 23 years and came back, and all of a sudden these landmark, businesses are
mhm.
falling. So I just applaud you and all your efforts. I just loved. I was like, I have to have you, because as I am encouraging women, and you said it too, if you feel anything, go get it checked. If you even suspect anything, go get it checked,
Yes,
because it's so important. And what they're able to do, what our doctors are able to do now, well, with you being able to do chemo pregnant, like, imagine that wasn't even an option back 20, 30 years ago,
right.
even. So the things that they've been able to do now, and I was so encouraged by my doctor. She never for once said, she's like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So to her,
Mhm.
it was old hat. And I'm just imagining the years of research and study that she's done. So I appreciate my doctors. I appreciate your doctors. And I just wanted to have you come on, because it's stories like yours that we're just surrounded. And there's so many even in our group who are still battling breast cancer. Some who, the options are different for them. So I just appreciate you coming on. I wanted to tell your story to all of my people here. Thank you so much. I know all the young moms who were watching this are the comments that have been coming in. So I
I
am going
haven't
to
seen
share, yeah,
let me
some of the comments. Yeah, Rachel. So Rachel says, Rachel's a mom of two and she's pregnant with her third. She said, I'm so glad you're both here and well. What is the name of April's business? You have friends in Frisco. So her company name is AM Linen Rental. AM Linen Rental. You can look them up on the internet. I'll be throwing the link in the comments as soon as we finish the broadcast. But yeah, her business is fantastic, and I want to just have lunch with you, April, because I want to
definitely.
come see your place.
I want to
Uh,
add something real quick. You did
yeah,
you
go
did
ahead.
you did your hair checkup. I'm gonna do mine. So
I
this is
know. Look at you.
I
It's so
am
long.
1 year and about a year and 2 months post chemo. So
That's
now I can
fabulous.
I'm in the mirror. I
That is
can't tell what
fabulous. I know, I was so,
Okay, there I am.
This will be kind of veering off slightly without going too far in the TMI range, but, I was amazed at watching my body hair growth and how it came back in and just how different it felt. Just all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, going from having hair to having, like, absolutely 0 hair
Yeah.
anywhere. It was like, "Whoa, this feels weird." But it's also interesting, like you said, to watch how resilient our bodies are to fight this thing, and bounce back. So I am super excited for you. Now, how old is your son now? Is he
He is 1 year and almost he was born August 29th,
okay? Yeah.
so year and a
Well
month.
well, what a great little man he is. He did save his mama's life.
He did.
And so that's why I'm walking in this walk. That's why I'm asking people to help support me on this walk because you and I both know how important it is to have the resources, to have the help, to help the research, um, for breast cancer. I'm excited. I'm trying to plan. I have a friend in Dallas. Trying to plan my next interview next week. She is a research doctor at Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville for breast cancer research, and she's currently going through breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
So Dana's got a really interesting take. She was really helpful to me when I was doing radiation. She immediately sent me a message. She goes, "Go buy this cream, get this spray, use it all the time. It'll be fantastic." I was like, "Okay, thanks." So she's really funny too. So I'm interested to hear from the research side from her. So I'm going to have her on next week. But April, thank you so much, hon. I I just want to tell you, your kindness and the way that you interacted with me in our breast cancer group and even in our conversations when I had days that I wanted to ask someone who would understand, but who was I going to ask, So thank you for being there on those days when I sent you questions of like, hey, so when this happens,
Right.
because your support really meant a lot to me. So I can't wait to actually get to see you in person, see your company and give you a hug, and screw social distancing. We're both okay. So,
I look forward to that.
all right. Well, April, thanks a bunch, hon. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Well, guys, I'm telling you, that's what I mean about some fabulous people. I have just been blessed in this journey that I've taken, and to hear her story. There's so many stories like ours of women of all ages, not just my age, young moms, girls who are in their 20s who are battling this. So next Saturday, guys, I'm going to be broadcasting live. Michael and I, we are going to do the 3 mile 5K. We've mapped out a route. The way that Coleman is doing the race this year is they're running it just like they do every year, except it's virtual. So I have to go pick up my shirt today and my registration packet. The race begins, everything starts at 8 a.m. next Saturday. So I will be broadcasting live while I'm doing the walk. So I hope you can join me next Saturday. I'll be sharing more information about how you can support me. Thanks to all of you who have already donated and helped me hit my goal. Now let's go beyond that goal and continue to raise funds and help support breast cancer research and resources to women and men. You guys aren't, exempt from this. Men even get breast cancer. So let's do what we can to help support that. Get some great books, guys. And more importantly, remember those who you are connected with. You never know the impact they can have on your life, and how much that can mean. So today, with my blue cup, I am celebrating my friend Liz Lepic, who is battling a different kind of cancer. And so, Liz, this is to you, my dear. I love you. You are a rock star, and we salute you this morning. And to April and all the other mamas out there who are doing it, running your businesses or taking care of your homes or doing whatever, guys, you have incredible stories going on too. So be sure to share them with me, okay? Let me know how I can help you and support you because we're all in this together, right? In this year of the pandemic. So many awesome things have been going on. So we'll be sure to catch up with each other and continue this conversation. All right. Love you guys. Thanks so much. Don't forget, next Saturday, the More Than Pink race. I'll be there and I hope you'll be there with me. Yay. All right, guys, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see each other on the interwebs. Take care.